I recently did my yearly maintenance on two of my ponds. This one is an Aquascape small pond kit which I built in 2020, and this one I built using all DIY filters in 2019. Both are a similar size but cost different amounts to build. So after living with both ponds for a few years, I thought it would be fun to compare the professional grade filters to the DIY filters. Plus just do a general overview on how both ponds work. G'day, my name is Kev. The aim of my channel is to help people build and maintain ponds without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that interests you, you might like to subscribe and check out my website ozponds.com. Like I mentioned, the Aquascape pond was a kit with all the filters, pumps, plumbing, liner, underlayment, bacteria treatments needed to create a backyard pond. In Australia, this kit will cost around $4,000 plus the rock and pebble. It may be cheaper or more expensive in different parts of the world, I'm not sure. My courtyard pond is a bit bigger, at 4 metres at its longest and 3 metres at its widest. Both ponds are around 60 centimetres at their deepest points. This pond cost me around $2,000. Like I mentioned, this was using all DIY filters. The price includes the liner, underlayment, plumbing, rock and pebble, pumps and of course the filters. Both ponds are built using the ecosystem pond model. Both have a skimmer. This houses the pump or pumps. A skimmer pulls in floating debris like leaves, pollen and uneaten fish food. A skimmer is a type of mechanical filter that removes solid materials from the pond. From the skimmer, the water is pumped into a biological filter. On the Aquascape pond, that is a waterfall filter called a biofalls. On the courtyard pond, it's a bog filter I built using an old blue olive oil drum. The main purpose of the biological filter is to convert harmful ammonia into less harmful nitrate. Fish produce ammonia, uneaten food produces ammonia, things like leaves breaking down inside the water also produce ammonia. The problem is ammonia is toxic to fish, and it's also a favourite food source for tiny single-celled algae, which will turn your water pea green soup. So the purpose of the biological filter is to grow beneficial bacteria that will convert ammonia into nitrate for you. And that's why it's called a biological filter, because the filter is alive with billions of bacteria. The Aquascape waterfall filter is filled with media called bioballs. These are designed to provide plenty of surface area for those bacteria I mentioned to grow on. As the water moves up through the waterfall filter, the bacteria work their magic and clean water returns to the pond. My DIY bog filter in a barrel does the same thing, but instead of using bioballs to grow bacteria, the barrel is filled with different sized rock and gravel. I'll leave some helpful links in the description for anyone wanting to build any of the filters I mention or to see how I put together the Aquascape pond kit. But if I try and show the building process in this video, I'll never get to bed. So that's the basic gist of how both ponds are circulating and purifying the water. Water is pulled into the skimmer by the pump, also removing surface debris, and then sending the water up into the biological filter where the bacteria can purify the water. Both ponds also have shelves, rock and pebble inside the pond, plants and fish, all important ingredients to the ecosystem. Oh, and I didn't mention the DIY skimmer. In the courtyard pond, I sat the pump inside a standard 20-litre bucket. I cut out a filter sponge and lay it over the top. You can see the lip of the bucket there on the left. I then created a choke point with some rocks and used a liner offcut to force water through the gap. It's pretty simple, but it does the job. Both ponds use EPDM rubber pond liner and non-woven geotextile underlayment. Even on the courtyard pond, this was the single biggest expense. Even when I'm trying to save money, I'll never skimp on the liner. Building these ponds is a lot of work, and I want to enjoy them for many years. The rocks are heavy, and I don't want to be moving them around again, dealing with a leaky pond. In an ecosystem pond, the rock and pebble is part of the filtration. It provides more surface area for the bacteria, traps sediments, and provides growing pockets for plants. So as you can see, both ponds are built very similar. The biggest difference is the DIY filters versus the professional grade filters. And they both have different pumps. The Aquascape pond is running an AquaSurge 3000 pump, and the Courtyard pond is running a Pond Max EV4910 DC pump. The pump in the Courtyard pond costs substantially less to run, and that's just one of the many things I love about Bog filters. They work best with slower flows, which means you save money on the running costs. The AquaSurge is a great pump, and it's churning out 12,000 litres per hour, but it's probably costing around $300 per year to run. I've worked that out at about 20 cents per kilowatt, whereas the pump in the Courtyard is only putting out 4,600 litres per hour, but that's only costing around $80 per year. Again, that's worked out at 20 cents a kilowatt. I'm probably not quite paying that much for my ponds, thank goodness for solar panels. So that's sort of the overview of how much each pond costs to build and run. So how do they compare for maintenance? They are both very low maintenance, but I would say the Aquascape pond wins, but only just. I literally only clean this thing once a year. I just do a partial drain and clean on it. I empty out the waterfall filter and skimmer, rinse off the sponges, check the pump, and put it all back together. Throughout the year, I might empty out the skimmer basket 3 or 4 times. I'm pretty lazy. On the Courtyard pond, I flush out the bog filter once a year, and that's only a 15-minute job. I recently did a video showing how I do that. Basically just making sure that I've removed all the muck that is built up inside. The DIY skimmer isn't quite as good as the professional Aquascape one, although it might be if the pump was pulling in the same volume of water. So because the skimmer doesn't catch as much, about 3 or 4 times through the year, I jump in the pond and net out some of the debris that hasn't made it into the skimmer. But both ponds provide crystal clear water and hours of enjoyment. I think the Aquascape pond kit is great for people that know that they want something like this, but can't be bothered learning about how the filters work, how to size various types of plumbing, things like that. They also have this size as a DIY kit. Some of the components aren't quite the same, like a more flimsy skimmer net, no nice fake rock cover for the skimmer, and a lower volume pump. But I used it to quickly create a pond for my mum and dad, and it's doing well. I'll link both kits in the description if you're interested. But for those of you that are happy to do some learning and fiddle around with different components, you can save a ton of money and still create a fantastic pond. I've got heaps of ponds and heaps of videos on how to build the pond, the filters, how to size everything. It's all there waiting for you to binge watch and create your own oasis. Like I said, I'll leave some helpful videos in the description to get you started. I do hope this has been helpful or inspired you to create something similar. If it has, I really don't mind if you give that thumbs up button a little tickle. Thanks for watching. See ya.